back to L&V Book Nook. I'm Lillian.
And I'm Vivian.
And this week we are reviewing, well, this month I guess, we're reviewing Mosquitoland by David Arnold. So, we're just gonna go right into it with our plot summary. So, Mosquitoland is very different from the last book that we reviewed, Carried On. If you want to take a look at that, the link will be in the description. Please go watch it. So, Mosquitoland is realistic fiction versus like the fantasy of Carry On, and our main protagonist is Mim Malone. And you're probably thinking that's kind of a weird name, right? But that's actually an acronym for Mary Iris Malone. And as the back cover says, Mim Malone is not okay. So what has happened to her so far is that her dad has gotten recently remarried to her stepmom, and they moved from Ohio to Mississippi, leaving behind her biological mom. And she just found out that her mom is actually sick, and so she goes on this huge journey, which is what this book is all about, to try to find her mom and to rescue her from the sickness. And it is a book about a road trip. Basically, I think almost the whole thing up until the end is a road trip, right? But it's nothing like your John Green type road trip book. So if that's something that you're looking for in this book, it's not gonna be similar. There's a lot of the same themes about like discovering yourself and making those strong relationships along the way. But Mim and all the other characters in this book are so eccentric, and they're written with such a unique voice that it's very different than any of those like other road trip books that I've read. So that's just kind of a disclaimer that I want to put up there.
Like we did with Carry On, I just want to point out some of the cover art. Excuse me. No, okay, I actually really like the cover, well, not exactly the cover, the inside cover art for Mosquitoland, because it so accurately displays the book as a whole while also being really funny and cute.
Yeah, and now we want to get into the actual content of the book.
I think the cover is almost as important as the content.
No. Well, okay, so content-wise, one of my favorite things about this book is actually, I guess, something that we talked about a lot, which is the characters. It took me, I don't know if this is true for you, but it took me a little while to get used to how the book is written, just because Mim is so strange. Like, on the back it even says, I am a collection of oddities, which I think is so perfect to describe Mim, even though it might seem like one of those cliche.
It's actually very perfect to describe all the characters, actually.
Yeah, they're all very eccentric.
So you have like, okay, so your main characters are Mim, Walt, and Beck, and you actually don't
forget Arlene.
Okay, there are a lot of main characters, but those three are like
and Kathy and her mom.
Yeah, right.
Okay, sorry, continue.
Right, so, but Mim, she has like schizophrenia. With also Beck, he's kind of like a renegade, but he's not a bad boy. He's a really good guy. He just has a lot of issues that he has to work out, but all three of them have very unique problems, and they're really strong characters. So when you combine them together, they really are a collection of oddities.
And I think sometimes a lot of books like portray people with with mental illnesses and things like that as their whole character, like their illness defines them. But what I loved about this book was that none of the illnesses of the characters defined them, but instead it added to their humanity. And I love seeing that, because all of us have problems, right? But that doesn't mean that we can't love people and we can't be loved, and it doesn't mean that we can't have these great stories that we tell and these great journeys we go on.
So also just a little side note about the plot. If you're looking for some really hardcore YA romance, this is not what actually, like, I thought that might be kind of annoying because I like YA romance a lot, but the way that it was written and the way that Mim is portrayed, it works out really well for everyone. And I think, yeah, David Arnold made some really good choices in the way that he wanted to structure the characters and their relationships. And yeah, I just think the characters, they're very well developed, very well formed.
And I also want to say the language is really elevated, I think, for a YA novel.
Yeah.
Mim has an insane vocabulary. And she's one of her many quirks is that she makes a lot of like references to books and things like that that I haven't really heard of, but it's really cool to read about and to see such a like real 3D character come to life. I would give it like a 5 out of 5 stars, but for me it was more of a 4 out of 5, just because it was kind of hard for me to get into it, which obviously isn't the problem of the book itself, but it was hard for me to relate to it, I guess is all.
And I think part of it was that the way that it's structured is a little bit confusing at first because she actually keeps like a diary throughout the whole
Yeah.
thing, and sometimes it jumps chronologically. So but like when you're reading it, because you will read it, don't let that deter you at all. But in the end, I think, well, the ending still really got me, and
I was crying. Well, I cry at like every book.
yeah.
So yeah, that concludes our book review for Mosquitoland. In summary, we really, really liked it. 4 out of 5 stars, just because some parts were a little hard to connect to, but it's really great read. It's really well written, really inspirational, and it will make you cry at the end, even if you didn't like it or didn't connect to the characters.
I don't know if that's for sure because you really do cry. Everything. Because Lena's mentioning the topic of crying, that actually brings us to our quote.
That was such a good segue.
Yes. Okay.
Well, that was a good high five too.
So our quote this week that we're gonna post on our wall back here is, "I cry because I love. For some reason, I always have." This is on page 196, so I won't tell you anything about the context because you'll have to read it to find out. So yeah, that concludes our review of Mosquitoland, and be sure to read this book. It's very different from a lot of YA novels out there, so it's definitely worthwhile.
Yeah.